Billionaire abandoned bedmate was assault 9-month abundant wife, a fresh her baptized bankrupt, but regretted it. Hello, acceptable back. Amused you able-bodied to subscribe, and let us apperceive area you are watching the adventure from in the animated version section. The rain hit the avant-garde bottle windows of the accommodation like tiny fists. Thunder rumbled far away. Emily sat on the bend of the king-sized bed, her easily bankrupt protectively over her bloated belly. The Berghalle below was a sea of light, but central aggregate acquainted dark. The alarm apprehend 11:34 p.m. Charles was late. Emily approved not to cry. She was annoyed of crying. Every night, she told herself she would be able for her baby. Every night, it acquainted harder. Her fizz bashed on the nightstand. She accomplished for it, acquisitive to see a bulletin from her adolescent sister Grace. Instead, it was edition account active about Charles. His face animated on the avant-garde folio of every banking site. Billionaire Charles Walker expands empire. Charles Walker's alms gives achievement to thousands. Emily stared at the photo. The apple saw acceptable absorbing man. Only she knew the rail. Charles. Suddenly, she heard the elevator ding. Emily sat up straight, babyish racing. Footsteps acknowledgement on the marble floor. Charles didn't walk. He marched. Every footfall abounding with purpose and power. He pushed accessible the bedchamber aperture afterwards knocking. Emily looked up, banishment a smile. You're home late. Charles shrugged out of his clothing anorak and tossed it assimilate a chair. He didn't attending at her. There was a business dinner. Emily smelled perfume, a woman's scent, candied and unfamiliar. She approved to accumulate her articulation steady. You didn't call. He glared at her eyes icy. I don't charge to alarm every time I'm active late. Emily looked bottomward at her hands. She didn't appetite to argue. I aloof worry. That's all. Charles abandoned his tie, jaw tense. Stop worrying. It's annoying. Emily nodded. She capital to disappear. Okay. Charles kicked himself a booze from the mini bar, downing it in one gulp. Why aren't you asleep? Emily didn't answer. She capital to say, I can't Betty by because I'm afraid, but abhorrence had fabricated her silent. She watched him clip the allowance restless. Finally, he chock-full in avant-garde of her. What's for dinner? Emily's articulation was about a whisper. I larboard your bowl in the oven. He frowned. You apperceive I abhorrence algid food. I'm sorry, Emily said, continuing up slowly. The affliction in her aback fabricated her wheeze. Charles formed his eyes. Honestly, what do you like do all day? How adamantine is it to accumulate banquet warm? Emily swallowed. I'm about due. It's accepting harder to move around. He cut her off. Pregnancy is not an alibi for laziness. My mother formed until the day she gave birth. Emily said nothing. She abashed to the kitchen, putting his aliment in the microwave, her hands. She prayed he wouldn't notice. He followed her, continuing too close. You never acclimated to be this slow. Emily flinched at his words. She approved to change the subject. Grace alleged today. She wants to appear by tomorrow. Charles's face darkened, but so she can meddle in our business. Acquaint her to break out of it. Emily affronted away, ambuscade tears. She aloof wants to help. He leaned in, articulation low and threatening. We don't charge advice from anyone. Do you accept me? Emily nodded quickly. 'Cause I'm sorry. The bake beeped. She placed the bowl in avant-garde of him. Charles sat bistro in silence. Emily watched him activity babyish and invisible. Afterwards dinner, Charles's fizz buzzed. He glanced at the screen, face lighting up with a babyish clandestine smile. Emily accustomed the look. That smile was never for her. She waited until he larboarded the kitchen afore cheating a glance at his phone. The awning was still lit. A bulletin from V. Victoria, absence you. Same time tomorrow. Emily's abdomen twisted. She apprenticed a duke to her belly, aggravating not to cry. Not now. Not in avant-garde of him. She went back to the bedchamber and sat on the bend of the bed. Charles backward in the active room, talking in low tones on his phone. Emily listened, affection pounding. Charles laughed softly, a complete she hadn't heard in months. He whispered, She doesn't doubtable a thing. Don't worry, but I'll see you soon. Emily acquainted her accomplished anatomy go cold. She heard footsteps. Charles appeared in the doorway, attractive at her with suspicion. What are you staring at? Emily befuddled her head. Nothing. He narrowed his eyes. Are you spying on me now? No, she started, but he cut her off. Go to sleep. I accept assignment to do. He airtight the aperture as he left. Emily lay back, staring at the ceiling. Tears formed bottomward her cheeks. Her babyish kicked as if aggravating to abundance her. She rubbed her abdomen and whispered, "I'm so sorry. I affiance I'll assure you somehow." The abutting morning, Emily woke to the complete of her fizz buzzing. It was Grace. "Are you okay?" "You complete tired," Grace said, activity in her voice. "I'm fine," Emily lied. Grace sighed. "Charles didn't appear home until midnight. I saw the paparazzi photos." "Sure, you're safe." Emily's blackout was acknowledgement enough. "Amuse, leave him. Appear break with me. I'll advise you. You don't accept to go through this alone." Emily swallowed hard. "I can't. Not yet. I charge added proof." Grace's articulation grew sharper. "Proof? You're covered in bruises. That's all the affidavit anyone needs." Emily looked at the crumbling marks on her arm. "I charge to be careful. He's watching aggregate I do." Grace bargained her voice. "I'll be there this afternoon. If he says anything, say you charge help. Setting up the nursery." "Okay." Emily nodded, affronted tears. "Thank you." Afterwards, blind up, Emily spent the morning cleaning, effective slowly. Every anguish reminded her how abutting she was to her due date. She approved to account a approaching area she and her babyish were. The abstraction acquainted like a far abroad dream. Charles larboard aboriginal for work, about accidental at her. "Don't abash me today," he decrepit afore slamming the door. Emily spent hours in silence, agitated at every sound. When Grace arrived, Emily hugged her tightly. Grace pulled back, belief her face. "You didn't Betty by again, did you?" Emily befuddled her head. Grace brushed a breach from Emily's cheek. "We're accepting you out of here. I beggarly it." Emily's articulation shook. "He's cheating on me. I saw the messages, Victoria. He calls her babe." Grace's eyes narrowed. "That bastard. I knew it. You accept to leave." Emily looked down. "I don't apperceive how." Grace effective her hands. "We'll amount it out. You're not alone." For the aboriginal time in months, Emily let herself accept it. Later, afterwards Grace left, Emily went analytic for added proof. She opened Charles's laptop, appropriate a password. Her easily trembled as she approved their anniversary. The awning unlocked. Emails, messages, photos. Evidence of Charles's activity with Victoria was everywhere. Emily took photos with her phone, affection pounding. Suddenly, the avant-garde aperture slammed. Charles's articulation echoed through the apartment. "Emily, area are you?" Emily jumped, slamming the laptop shut and advanced her fizz below a pillow. Charles stormed in, face askance with anger. "What are you accomplishing in here?" Emily stammered. "Aloof charwoman up." He effective her arm, binding hard. "Don't lie to me." She yanked her arm free, abetment away. "Let go of me." He abashed closer, articulation cold. "You anticipate you're smart? Snooping around, aggravating to bolt me. You're pathetic." Emily befuddled her head. "I'm not." He effective her by the shoulders, abashed her. "Your annihilation afterwards me. Nothing. Anyone would affliction if you disappeared." Emily's eyes abounding with tears. "Amuse, stop. Your affliction me." He shoved her assimilate the bed. "Don't anytime blow my things again. Do you apprehend me?" Emily lay still, too abashed to move. Charles stormed out, slamming the aperture abaft him. She apprenticed a duke to her belly, whispering, "It's okay. I won't let him aching you. I promise." That night, she couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, apperception racing. She had the affidavit now. Maybe Grace was right. Maybe it was time to run. But active wasn't easy. Charles was powerful. He had eyes everywhere. The babyish kicked again, affable but insistent. Emily wiped abroad her tears. "I'll acquisition away. She abreast for you." Outside, lightning flashed. Thunder ashamed the windows. Inside, Emily captivated on to achievement aloof a little longer. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd adulation you to accompany our association by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we anatomy achievement and accord approaching to accouchement and women abused all over the world. Also, let us apperceive in the comments area you are watching us from and how this adventure hit home for you. The abutting morning, Emily woke to a addled anguish beyond her body. She approved to sit up groaning as affliction attempt through her ribs. She apprenticed her duke to her ancillary and approved to breathe quietly. Charles was still asleep, sprawled on his ancillary of the bed, face affronted away. The bruises on her arm had blurred overnight. She pulled her sleeve down, aggravating to adumbrate them alike from herself. She heard her fizz buzz. A bulletin from Grace lit up the screen. Alarm me if you charge me. I'll appear appropriate away. I beggarly it. Emily capital to reply, capital to alarm for help. But she knew Charles would be angled if he angled her. She slid out of bed agilely and bedlam to the bathroom. She bound the aperture and looked in the mirror. Her face was pale, eyes belted red. The babyish kicked. Emily bankrupt her eyes, whispering, "Just a little longer. I promise." She splashed algid baptise on her face, broiled her eyes, and went to the kitchen to accomplish breakfast. She abashed slowly, accurate not to accomplish any noise. Charles woke up bisected an hour later, affronted into the kitchen. "Why is the coffee cold?" he snapped. Emily affected a smile. "I aloof fabricated it." He abandoned her, cloudburst a cup and sitting bottomward at the table, scrolling through his phone. Fabricated him breakfast in silence. Every move acquainted heavy. Charles about glanced at her. "Did you allocution to your sister yesterday?" Emily hesitated. "She came by for a little while. She aloof capital to analysis on me, on the baby." He set his cup bottomward hard. "I don't appetite her advancing here. She fills your arch with nonsense." Emily's articulation was tiny. "She cares about me." He attempted her a look. "Don't start. I'm admonishing you." She affronted away, burning tears. "I'm sorry." He sneered. "You consistently are." Emily served his eggs and toast. She watched as he circling through messages, bedlam cautiously at article on his phone. She couldn't advise herself. "Is that Victoria?" Charles looked up slowly, eyes narrowing. "Excuse me?" Emily's easily trembled. "I saw her bulletin yesterday." "On your phone." For a continued moment, Charles said nothing. The air in the kitchen seemed to freeze. He set his fizz bottomward and stood. "Are you spying on me again?" Emily befuddled her head. "No, I aloof your fizz was on the table. I aloof saw her name." He cut her off. Articulation rising. "You anticipate you can allege me? In my own house?" Emily stepped back. "I'm not accusing you. I aloof appetite the truth." Charles's face askance in anger. He stepped closer, aerial over her. "You appetite the truth? But yes, I see Victoria. She's younger, prettier, and she doesn't nag me all day." The words hit Emily like a slap. She backed into the counter, one duke on her belly. Charles didn't stop. "You acclimated to be fun. Now you're aloof a burden. I accommodate aggregate and all. I get his complaints and tears." Emily's eyes abounding with tears. "I'm sorry. I never capital to be a burden." He snorted, a fresh chockful acting like one. He shoved accomplished her, avaricious his briefcase. "And break out of my business. If you any time blow my fizz again, you'll affliction it." He stormed out, slamming the aperture so adamantine the walls shook. Emily stood frozen, abashed from arch to toe. She slid to the floor, ball quietly. Her fizz bashed again. This time, she bested up. Grace's name flashed on the screen. Emily answered, her articulation about a whisper. "Are you all right?" Grace asked, agitation in her voice. Emily couldn't authority it in any longer. He accepted it. "Grace, he's cheating. He hates me. I'm a burden." Grace's articulation was fierce. "You're not a burden. He's a monster. You accept to leave." A 4-article worse happens. Emily apprenticed her forehead to her knees. "I appetite to, but I'm scared." Grace's accent softened. "You're not alone. I'll advise you. You can appear to my abode today. We'll go to the badge if we accept to." Emily befuddled her head. "Not yet. I charge added time. I charge to think." Grace sighed. "But affiance me you'll alarm if things get bad. I promise." Afterwards blind up, Emily sat on the kitchen attic for a continued time. She wiped her tears and stood up, animating herself. She bare to be able for her baby. Hours anesthetized in a blur. Emily cleaned, did laundry, and arrested her hospital back. Extra things aloof in case she bare to leave in a hurry. Backward that afternoon, Charles returned. The air afflicted as anon as he absolved in. Emily's stomach nodded. He tossed his anorak on the couch and glared at her. "What's for dinner?" "I'm authoritative pasta," Emily replied quietly. He sat at the table scrolling on his phone. The blackout was thick. Emily approved to complete casual. "Do you appetite to allocution about what happened this morning?" He didn't attending up. "No, I'm done talking." She stared at the booze bubbles on the stove, accommodating herself not to cry. Banquet anesthetized in silence. As Emily austere the plates, Charles aback spoke. "Don't anticipate I don't apperceive what you're up to. You and your sister." Emily turned, affection pounding. We're not up to anything. She's aloof worried. He airtight his anchor on the table. She wants to abort this family. She wants you to leave me and booty everything. Emily befuddled her head. That's not true. He stood up, advancing to join her. If you any time abandon me, you'll affliction it. I affiance you. Emily backed away, easily raised. Please, Charles. I'm not your enemy. He effective her arm, binding so bound she gasped, a fresh act like it. Suddenly, Emily acquainted a siculate affliction in her side. She cried out, clutching her belly. Charles's anchor loosened. What's amiss now? She approved to breathe, tears in her eyes. Aloof pain. The babyish is kicking. He appear her with a snort. Consistently something. Emily leaned to join the counter, trembling. She bankrupt her eyes and breathed boring until the affliction faded. The blow of the black anesthetized in silence. Charles formed in his abstraction aperture locked. Emily went to bed early, adhering her pillow, alert for every sound. Hours later, she was woken by a crash. She heard Charles's articulation affronted and slurred. The storm into the bedchamber reeking of alcohol. He shouted, You anticipate you're bigger than me? You anticipate you can leave? Emily befuddled her head, affection pounding. No, he advanced, avaricious her by the arm, abashed her. You ungrateful. Afterwards aggregate I've done for you, Emily cried out. Charles, please. The baby. He let go suddenly, accusation her assimilate the bed. Consistently application that babyish as an excuse. Pathetic. He aloft his duke, and this time the bang came fast and hard. Emily tasted blood. She coiled into a ball, easily over her belly. The allowance spun. Charles shouted, Get up. Stop crying. You're authoritative at worse. Emily approved to stand. Affliction tore through her body. Afresh suddenly, she acquainted a access of balmy aqueous amid her legs. Her baptize had broken. For a moment time stopped. Charles stared, eyes wide. Emily gasped. The baby. My baptize aloof broke. Agitation flashed beyond Charles's face. For once, he looked scared. Emily struggled to sit up. I charged to go to the hospital now. Charles swore below his breath, avaricious his keys. He hesitated, broken amid acrimony and fear. Don't you cartel acquaint anyone what happened tonight, he growled. Emily nodded, too atrocious to argue. Please, aloof hurry. He helped her to her anxiety almost and abject her join the door. Emily angled over, animation adamantine as addition abbreviating hit. In the car, Charles sped through red lights, cursing the absolute way. Emily focused on breathing, on blockage awake, on attention her baby. As they pulled up to the hospital, Charles leaned in close, his articulation algid and threatening. Remember, accumulate your aperture shut or else. Emily nodded, clutching her abdomen as nurses rushed to join her. Inside, the ablaze hospital lights blurred as she was wheeled away. She looked back, seeing Charles continuing abandoned in the lobby, acrimony and abhorrence bond on his face. For the aboriginal time, Emily acquainted a beam of hope. She was out of that house. Bodies would see her. Maybe aloof, maybe addition would help. As the doctors wheeled her into the maternology ward, Emily clung to that hope. Hospital lights flickered aerial as Emily was rushed through the avant-garde automated doors. Nurses alleged out orders as they wheeled her gurney through a bewilderment of hallways. Her affection formed with abhorrence and pain. But for the aboriginal time in months, she was amidst by bodies who ability absolutely help. A assistant angled over her, affable and calm. Emily, can you apprehend me? How far afar are your contractions? Emily gasped, her animation ragged. Maybe 5 minutes. So baby, you're safe here. We'll booty affliction of you, the assistant said. As the doors to the commitment allowance swung closed, Emily angled one aftermost glimpse of Charles and Bobby. He was pacing, face flushed, shouting into his phone. Alike here, she wasn't absolutely safe. Not yet. Inside, nurses helped Emily change into a gown. They battened in bendable voices, alms comfort. As they absorbed monitors and started IVs, the affliction was building, but Emily's apperception spun with abhorrence for her babyish and for herself. A doctor entered. He smiled, affectionate and reassuring. Emily, I'm Dr. Harris. Your baby's babyish is strong, but you're below a lot of stress. We're activity to advisor you closely, okay? Emily nodded, bitter her lip to stop it from trembling. As the medical agents worked, addition abbreviating hit. Emily cried out, clutching the ancillary rails. A assistant stroked her hair. You're accomplishing great. Aloof breathe. Is there addition we can alarm for family? Emily hesitated, afresh whispered, "My sister. Her cardinal is in my phone. Oh, I charge her." The assistant nodded, demography Emily's fizz from her bag. In the cat-and-mouse room, Charles sat stiffly, scrolling through his fizz with abashed hands. His apperception was racing, not with anguish for Emily, but with abhorrence for himself. If Emily battened to anyone about what happened, his acceptability could be ruined. His fizz buzzed. A bulletin from Victoria flashed on the screen. "Victoria. Ari, are you? I'm at the hospital, but you're not here. I accept news." Charles's eyes widened. He stood up and looked around, scanning the active lobby. Afresh he saw her. Victoria, alpine and blonde, her own abdomen annular below a bound dress. She was pregnant, too. Victoria abrupt to him. "Charles, why are you blank me? I've been calling for hours." Charles affected a bound smile. "Now isn't an acceptable time. Emily is in labor." Victoria frowned. "So am I. My baptized bankrupt an hour ago." Charles stared, stunned. He approved to adumbrate his panic. "You didn't acquaint me you were this close." Victoria beyond her arms. "You haven't answered my calls for days. I was alpha to admiration if you were alienated me." Charles glanced around, blurred his voice. "Not now. We can't allocution here." Victoria stepped closer, eyes sharp. "You promised me aggregate would be altered already the babyish came. You said you'd leave her." Before Charles could respond, a new articulation cut through the tension. "Charles." He turned. Grace stood a few accomplish away, face anemic but determined. Charles glared at her. "What are you accomplishing here?" Grace abandoned him, absorption on Victoria. "Are you Victoria?" Victoria nodded, confused. "Do I apperceive you?" Grace looked back at Charles, eyes abounding of fury. "You are unbelievable. How abounding women are you activity to ruin." Victoria's eyes widened. "What is she talking about?" Charles effective Grace's arm, affairs her aside. "Apperception your own business, Grace. You accept no abstraction what's activity on." Grace yanked her arm free. "I apperceive enough. I apperceive you've been abusing my sister. I apperceive you've been cheating, and now you're about to be exposed." Victoria stepped back, abashed her head. "Abusing her, Charles. Is that true?" Charles hissed. "Break out of this, both of you." Grace took out her fizz and hit record. "I've got everything. The bruises, the photos, the articulation letters you larboard aggressive Emily. It's all backed up." Charles's face affronted ashen. "You wouldn't dare." Grace met his glare. "Try me." Victoria stared at Charles, ability alpha in her eyes. She affronted to Grace. "Is Emily okay?" "She's in labor." "Because of him," Grace said, her articulation breaking. Victoria swallowed hard, tears brimming. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea." Grace looked at her softer now. "You're not the aboriginal woman he's aria to, but you can advice accomplish abiding you're the last." Victoria nodded, wiping her eyes. "I appetite to help." Charles started to speak, but an assistant approached. "Mr. Walker, Emily is allurement for you." Charles affronted on his heel and stalked afterwards the nurse. Grace effective Victoria's hand. "Appear on, let's break together." In the commitment room, Emily awkward the nurse's hand. Sweat dripped bottomward her forehead. Dr. Harris arrested the monitors, calm and steady. Charles access in banishment a smile. "I'm here, darling. How are you feeling?" Emily's face went cold. "You're aloof afraid about yourself." "I know." He abashed closer, articulation low. "Don't alpha now. You're authoritative as seen." Emily befuddled her head, articulation trembling. "You don't get to corruption me anymore. Grace knows everything. The nurses know. There's annihilation larboard to hide." Charles's eyes flashed with anger. "If you say one word," Dr. Harris interrupted, aciculate and professional. "Mr. Walker, I'll accept to ask you to leave if you're abashing the patient. Our focus is Emily and the babyish now." Charles approved to argue, but two nurses stepped closer, firm and ready. Emily looked at the doctor. "Please, I appetite my sister here, not him." Dr. Harris nodded. "Absolutely." The assistant went to aback Grace. Charles sputtered in protest, but Cypher listened. A minute later, Grace rushed in and took Emily's hand. "I'm here. You're safe. He can't aching you now." Emily sobbed in relief, binding Grace's hand. "Thank you." Outside, Charles paced in the hallway, trapped and powerless. Victoria watched him from beyond the lobby, tears active bottomward her face. A Aegis bouncer appeared, calm but imposing. "Sir, we charge you to footfall abroad from the ward." Charles glared but obeyed, alive bigger than to fight. Victoria abutting Grace and Emily in the allowance as anon as she was allowed. She sat by the bed, articulation trembling. Emily, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I anticipation he admired me. I anticipation I was special. Emily met her eyes. He bamboozled us both. Victoria nodded, wiping abroad tears. He can't aching us anymore. Grace looked at both women. We're stronger together. No added secrets. No added fear. A assistant agape gently. Emily, the doctor needs to see you. The baby's affection amount is dropping. We charge to adapt for an emergency C-section. Abhorrence airtight into Emily, but Grace and Victoria were at her side. You're not alone, Grace whispered. Be brave, Victoria said. Emily nodded as the nurses wheeled her out. She looked back at her sister and at Victoria, achievement animated through the terror. For the aboriginal time and a continued time, she ability absolutely survive this. The assistant went to aback Grace. Charles sputtered in protest, but Cypher listened. A minute later, Grace rushed in and took Emily's hand. I'm here. You're safe. He can't aching you now. Emily sobbed in relief, binding Grace's hand. Thank you. Outside, Charles paced in the hallway, trapped and powerless. Victoria watched him from beyond the lobby, tears active bottomward her face. A Aegis bouncer appeared, calm but imposing. Sir, we charge you to footfall abroad from the ward. Charles glared but obeyed, alive bigger than to fight. Victoria abutting Grace and Emily in the allowance as anon as she was allowed. She sat by the bed, articulation trembling. Emily, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I anticipation he admired me. I anticipation I was special. Emily met her eyes. He bamboozled us both. Victoria nodded, wiping abroad tears. He can't aching us anymore. Grace looked at both women. We're stronger together. No added secrets. No added fear. A assistant agape gently. Emily, the doctor needs to see you. The baby's affection amount is dropping. We charge to adapt for an emergency C-section. Abhorrence airtight into Emily. But Grace and Victoria were at her side. You're not alone, Grace whispered. Be brave, Victoria said. Emily nodded as the nurses wheeled her out. She looked back at her sister and at Victoria, achievement animated through the terror. For the aboriginal time and a continued time, she ability absolutely survive this. In the hallway, Badge Admiral agilely entered the hospital led by a nurse. They approached Charles, who approved to angle tall. Mr. Walker, an administrator said, we charge to allege with you. Charles's aperture fell open. Is this some affectionate of joke? Not at all. Your actuality advised for calm abandon and endangerment. You'll charge to appear with us. Grace watched from the cat-and-mouse allowance as Charles was led abroad in handcuffs. She hugged Victoria, abatement calamity her. Emily was assuredly free. But there was still one action left. Bringing her babyish cautiously into the world. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd adulation you to accompany our association by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we anatomy achievement and accord approaching to accouchement and women abused all over the world. Also, let us apperceive in the comments area you are watching us from and how this adventure hit home for you. Let's dive back to the story. Ablaze lights and deadened choir amidst Emily as she was wheeled into the operating room. Her easily trembled. Dr. Harris leaned over, calm but urgent. Emily, we're activity to booty acceptable affliction of you and your baby. Try to breathe. You're not alone. Emily nodded, arresting the area tight. Agitation threatened to absorb her, but she captivated on to Grace's words. You're not alone. A assistant awkward her shoulder. We're appropriate here. Focus on your breathing. You're accomplishing great. Meanwhile, alfresco the hospital hallways bashed with tension. Chat had spread. Badge had arrested Charles Walker, the acclaimed billionaire, appropriate in the lobby. Cameras flashed outside. Reporters awash the bottle doors. The absolute accessible affectation had shattered. Grace paced the cat-and-mouse room, campanology her hands. Victoria sat beside her, anemic and silent, her own abdomen abundant with Charles's child. For a moment, they aloof listened to the storm of choir outside. Victoria bankrupt the silence. I never anticipation he could be so cruel. I was stupid. I let him lie to me. Grace befuddled her head. You're not stupid. He's an adept manipulator. He bamboozled everyone. He acclimated his money to awning his tracks. But not anymore. Victoria's eyes abounding with tears. What if bodies accusation me? What if they say I bankrupt up their marriage? Grace battened firmly. You're not the problem. Charles is. And you're not abandoned either. We're stronger together. A assistant appeared in the doorway. Grace. Emily capital you to accept this. She handed over Emily's phone. There's a lot on it. The badge appetite to see everything. Grace nodded, clutching the phone. Thank you. Victoria leaned in, blurred her voice. What if Charles tries to aching us? What if he gets out? Grace looked her in the eye. He's not activity to aching anyone again. We'll accomplish a biting of it. You and your babyish are safe now. Central the operating room, Emily focused on the complete of the machines. The anesthesiologist battened a claim as he able her for the C-section. Her eyes stung with tears, but she affected herself to break calm. Dr. Harris smiled bottomward at her. About there, Emily. You're abundantly brave. Emily bankrupt her eyes in anticipation of her sister, of her baby's aboriginal cry of freedom. Account anesthetized in a becloud of affliction and fear. Then suddenly a new complete breached the room. A sharp, loud bairn cry. Emily let out a sob of relief. The nurses cheered. Dr. Harris captivated up a tiny, advantageous babyish girl. Congratulations, Emily. You accept a daughter. Tears ran bottomward Emily's cheeks. She could about speak. Is she okay? She's perfect, Dr. Harris said, beaming. The assistant placed the babyish in Emily's arms. Emily stared at her daughter, afflicted by adulation and achievement and exhaustion. She whispered, You're safe now. I promise. Back in the cat-and-mouse room, Grace's fizz buzzed. The badge administrator she'd announced with beforehand stood beside her. Absence Walker, we've advised the letters and photos. Charles isn't activity anywhere. He'll be answerable with calm abuse, infidelity, and endangerment. Thank you for your courage. Grace nodded, tears bottomward her cheeks. Victoria awkward her hand. What happens now? Grace took a all-a-quiver breath. Now we advise Emily heal. Now we advice anniversary other. The assistant returned, animated wide. It's a girl. Both mom and babyish are safe. Emily wants to see you. Grace and Victoria abrupt bottomward the anteroom and entered the accretion room. Emily lay in bed, anemic but smiling, her babyish nestled in her arms. Grace rushed to her side. You did it. You're safe. Emily looked up, her eyes animated with tears. We did it. I couldn't accept survived afterwards you. Victoria stood by the bed, her duke on her belly. I'm so sorry, Emily. I had no abstraction what affectionate of man he was. Emily nodded. None of us did. But we apperceive now and we're free. They all looked at the tiny baby. For a moment, the apple outside, the media, the scandal, the betrayal fell away. All that mattered was this new beginning. Grace affected Emily's hand. You're not activity aback to him ever. Emily befuddled her head. Never. Victoria stepped forward. When my babyish comes, I'll accession her alone. I don't appetite Charles's name on anything. He's absent all of us. Emily looked at both women. He anticipation he could ascendancy us. He anticipation his money fabricated him untouchable. Grace smiled, affronted and proud. But he was wrong. For the aboriginal time, Emily acquainted article she hadn't acquainted in years. Power. Bottomward the hall, badge accomplished demography Charles's statement. He approved to barefaced and threaten, but Cypher listened. His advocate, accustomed anemic and sweating, abashed his head. Charles demanded, Get me out of here. This is all lies. The advocate replied coldly. There are witnesses, photos, audio recordings. You're finished, Charles. The apple knows the accuracy now. Charles angled in his chair, defeated. The cameras al fresco angled every moment of his accessible downfall. Back in the accretion room, Grace and Victoria helped Emily achieve in with her baby. The assistant smiled as she arrested the monitors. You've got a able little fighter there. Emily nodded, her eyes never abrogation her daughter. She'll never apperceive fear. She'll never be aching the way I was. I affirm it. Grace awkward her shoulder. She'll accept us. All of us. Victoria nodded. We'll assure anniversary other. For the aboriginal time, the three women acquainted free. They were survivors, not aloof of Charles, but of aggregate he had approved to destroy. Emily smiled bottomward at her newborn, a distinct breach bottomward her cheek, not of pain but of hope. Analysis out for allotment 2 to see the aftermost fight.